Well, welcome back to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and I'm joined as always with my co-host Darion Smith and Jimmy Marion. Guys, UAB advances to the second round of the NIT. We'll get into that in a little bit later, but how are y'all doing today on the first day of the NCAA tournament? How are your brackets looking?
Fresh, like all the way. You got Furman. I think Auburn and no, who is it? Illinois played Arkansas. That was and I had of course Princeton, and I had who else I had? Utah State, and like I was like, dang, if I would have just had the anti bracket of mine, I would have probably I would have been good, but
Hey, days like today is kind of why I stopped filling out a bracket a couple of years ago. That way I can just sit there and root. Because if it was the other way around and I want to root for every upset for real. So, I would always have that, like, do I pick the upset, which I want to happen, or I think with my brain, and then no matter what I did, I got it wrong anyway. So,
but this is another argument, and this is not the podcast topic, but this is another argument, for the expansion of the tournament. Like, this shows you right here that there's a lot more parity, in college basketball, and just a lot more opportunity is needed to be given. So if you need evidence, just look at everybody's bracket.
That is a great discussion. And one can argue that the transfer portal has really opened up that to have the parity. But my bracket's crushed. I had Arizona in the Final Four, so of course Princeton took them down today. So yeah, I'm pretty much out.
Yeah, my Final Four is Houston, San Diego State.
Barely won today. Yeah,
barely won. I was like, hell, they're gonna lose next time. San Diego State, Memphis, and Bama. I got Memphis knocking off Bama, and I got Houston knocking off. So you got this AAC meet up in the championship, and I got Memphis taking it all. So that's my bracket. Let's get crazy. My bracket is already messed up. At least I still got that intact.
John, who do you have in the FAU, and is it FAU and Memphis? Who do you have?
I picked FAU, and I feel like I'm the only one. Like everyone else that I'm talking to, they picked Memphis, and they have Memphis, going pretty deep. But I don't know. I think FAU can cause Memphis some fits, so I think FAU can get it done.
Memphis got some quality wins against some top-notch opponents. You know what I'm saying? So they got, and it seemed like they kind of got it rolling.
They do.
So I was like, I think I like this Memphis team, and I wouldn't be surprised if this FAU game was close. Honestly, if FAU had like Missouri or somebody like that, I think FAU would have knocked them off probably by double digits. That's just me, though.
Well, definitely. Well, exciting times for the NCAA tournament still ahead, but we've got the NIT to cover. But before we get started in recapping that Southern Miss win in the first round, we just wanted to plug blazervictory.com. If you have not checked out blazervictory.com, go there. Articles. I dropped a post-game article after the first round win over Southern Miss. Merch. We've got podcast episodes. Anything you can want, go to blazervictory.com and check it out and share it with a friend or two. But guys, let's just go ahead and jump in and recapping that Southern Miss win Tuesday night, just a couple of days ago. I mean, it was close for a while, but that second half, UAB kind of blew it wide open and kind of stomped Southern Miss. 88-60 was the final. Jimmy, I want to get your thoughts first. What were your thoughts from that game?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a tale of two halves. So when you came out at the first and we got out to a 7-2 lead, feeling pretty good, and Southern Miss was able to come back and respond with a nice little run of themselves to get up 17-13. We came back, we made a run. We were up 35-26 at the under 4 timeout, and I thought, hey, we've got them on the ropes, right? And kudos to Southern Miss. They came right back and into the half on a 12-6 run. We were only up about 3 at half, and I was certainly nervous. We talked a little bit in the last podcast about I had concerns about the lag and the fact that we didn't play so hot in the conference championship game, the quick turnaround, how did we respond? And so those thoughts were kind of creeping in my head at halftime, hoping that wasn't going to be reality. And to your point, John, the second half was completely different. In the first half, going back to the first half, UAB turned the ball over 11 times. Luckily for us, Southern Miss also turned it over 13 times. And for me, one of the big differences in the first half was just Southern Miss's inability to convert off of those turnovers. So we just converted and we're able to get more points off turnovers than them in the first half, which was good. Rebounding wise, we were only out rebounding them by 3 at the half. And so I thought that was a point of emphasis that we were going to have to correct in the second half. And luckily we did. So the second half, although Southern Miss got out to like a little lead, I think it was 44-41, whatever the score was there early in the second, UAB just curb stomped them to end the game. I mean, in reality, when you look at the stats, we went a huge run there. And, for me, you look at some of those specialty stats. In the second half, UAB had 14 points off turnovers compared to Southern Miss's goose egg. They had 0. You look at points in the paint, 24 for UAB in the second half compared to 2 for Southern Miss. That was huge. And fast break points, 11 for UAB compared to 0 for Southern Miss just in the second half alone. And then after, again, that little deficit at half with the rebound, and we just dominated the boards in the second half. So that was huge. And, for me, I'm just excited, to see KJ Buffin have such a monster game. I know I definitely want to get Darion's thoughts on KJ's, big game. And I was happy as well with, L.A. Brewer, who came off the bench, and he hadn't really been necessarily in the rotation here recently, but he was able to come in, and I think he played 24 minutes, 10 points. He had some other stats too, 6 boards, which is great to see out of that guard position. So, and then just to kind of close, again, those specialty stats, UAB outscored Southern Miss 50-18 points in the paint. That was just huge. So kudos, to those guys down the paint, for everybody rebounding the ball well and responding and having a tremendous second half.
Yeah, most definitely. I thought Muck on from UAB on Twitter, he had a great response. I was like saying on Twitter, like, how this is like in general is just an ugly game. I was like, this is like 3A JV hoops. Like when it started off in the beginning, I was like, this game on both sides. And then he had the best response to me. It stuck with me. He said, this is basically how we started against FAU, except Southern Miss is not FAU. So Southern Miss was Southern Miss, so they weren't able to take advantage because we were playing the same way. Fortunately enough, they was like, oh, y'all playing like that? Us too. You know what I'm saying? So everybody it was very sloppy. It's just, what are we doing basketball for everybody? Like, I was getting, and I hate Southern Miss, but I love the game more than I hate Southern Miss. So even I was looking at them like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is this? This is just ugly ball from everybody. Lazy passes. Just kind of, what are we trying to accomplish on offense? I had no idea what we were doing. It was like contested mid-range jumper, turnover, basketball. I'm like, it was hard to watch. Like, as a fan of the game, I think I started watching the Succession on HBO. I was like, I'm going to catch a little bit of Succession because I'm getting frustrated. That's how frustrated I was. Like, let me just turn because this is ugly. Well, of course, I went back in the second half. It was great to see us not play like how we played against FAU. We was a lot more sharp. I think we ended the half up by 4. We kind of started getting it together. And KJ Buffin, was the guy. I think KJ's finishing ability throughout the year has been up and down. Like, sometimes it can be hard for him to finish through contact. Well, this game, I don't know, man. He just had it in him, and I loved it. I love how he finished through contact this game. What's been better about him as the year goes on is his corner 3, his 3-point making ability, period. But to not see him lean on that, just to pump fake, get to the hole, finish strong, finish through contest. I think that was the difference in the game. Once he got that going, you can see his confidence visually rising. So he was ready to challenge any big down there. And I'm so happy he played that way because of course, we're going to talk about Morehead State, but they're not a big team. I think KJ can eat again. I really think Trey Jemison really ate against the team. He ate against USM. He was able to use his big body, and they were trying to draw charges. He was smart enough to kind of jump at an angle, jump stop at an angle, and be able to just finish strong through contact. Southern Miss, they probably had height, but they were not a big team. And so they kind of just didn't have the girth to deal with us down low. So it was because of the big men that we won our game. I'm glad they played with grit and nastiness. It was able to allow our guards to settle in. And I'm just happy to see how that should translate over to this Morehead State game.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this was something too, when we spoke with KJ after the game, in the post-game presser, he talked about how, he was motivated, and I hadn't even realized that he didn't score at all in the championship game. Like he didn't score anything. And so he said, that he was motivated heading in this game. And, of course, KJ playing at Ole Miss before and being from Mississippi, that was an extra chip on his shoulder. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised with the performance that he had, but my goodness, man, 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, go off for a career night. In Bartow Arena in front of a home crowd, it had to be special for KJ to have that performance. And like Darion, and Jimmy said, UAB relied heavily on KJ to get that aggressive attack the basket, and that's exactly what he did the whole game. He made 1 3-pointer, but you didn't see him just sitting in the corner, just waiting for that 3. No, he was attacking the rim and going after Southern Miss. And, what Darion mentioned, Southern Miss had nobody down low. Like, nobody could stop Trey Jemison, Javian Davis. UAB just ate inside the paint all night and got the rebounds. You look at the rebounds. UAB out-rebounded Southern Miss 48-32, 19-11 on the offensive boards, just second-chance points. You take away the 19 turnovers that UAB had. Now, granted, 11 of those 19 were in the first 10 or 15. It was early on in that game. You take away that, this would have been an extreme blowout. UAB wouldn't have been close going to half. UAB would have put them away even earlier. But just overall good night for UAB. And if you're a UAB fan, you've got to feel comfortable with seeing how the team played. Early on, a little sluggish. Like Darion said, kind of reminded you of that Conference USA Championship game, but they found a way to attack the basket and not just settle for 3-point and just crazy jump shots. They attacked the basket, and once they got over their turnover slump, it was all over with. So kudos to Andy Kennedy and Coach Cross and Coach Pearson, the guys. They had a great game plan. And Southern Miss, I know we like to crap on Southern Miss, but that was a good team. They had won, 25 games. I know they play in a different league in the Sun Belt, but that was still a good team. And this was a team that UAB took to the woodshed in the second half of that ball game. So all around, no complaints here other than those early turnovers. Just a dominant performance from UAB's bigs inside.
Hey, before we transition to the other game, John, my question is, what did you think about the jacket toss?
When I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? I get why he did it. He's just trying to spark the team, but I don't know. I just kind of chuckled when he did it.
It was so manufactured.
It was
manufactured. So, when you see something that's manufactured, I need to throw the jacket to give my team a spark and get on there. To me, it's kind of it's awkward. It's kind of cringy because it's because the call that he did it on, it wasn't even
bad call. Yeah.
It wasn't a bad call. Everybody was going on, his own players were going on as normal, okay. And he threw a jacket up, that was so manufactured. He was at the next whistle, I am going to do this. I'm like, dude, you had other opportunities to do that if it was genuine. That's my take on it.
Is it a requirement at Southern Miss to where the coaches have to wear suit and tie?
I guess so, because I was wondering why he was wearing that. Yeah.
The football coach wears suit and tie, right?
What's his name? Will Hall. Yeah, he does.
There
He
you
does.
go. Yeah, he's out there wearing a suit and tie. I mean, that must just be a part of it. On the job description, must wear a suit and tie.
Unless they try to do it for tradition or something, but
Could be.
I mean, they kind of got a tradition of losing, so they probably need to switch that up.
Oh no! Shots fired.
Shots fired, man. Well, another shot fire was waiting on the Southern Miss coach to come to the media room for 15 minutes after AK and KJ were done. So I guess he had a lot to say on his radio broadcast.
That was like 26 or 27 minutes on YouTube. I watched that last night. Of course, heard John in there asking some good questions about resiliency. I heard you in there, my man.
Yeah.
I will say this. I did like, Jay Ladner. I thought he presented himself really well, and seeing him, talked about Felipe Hasse was really cool. So, and then he told the story about Hasse and Raising Cane's, and that's the only thing I like about Hattiesburg is Raising Cane's. I got to stop through there every time I go.
I do like some Raising Cane's.
Yeah, so it just happened to come up, but yeah, I had some respect for him, and we'll definitely take our shots at Southern Miss. I hope we beat him by 30 points every time we play him in every sport, but it was nice to hear him talk about their senior class and their season. So kudos to them for having a good year.
And I came close to asking him like what would be his thoughts on doing a home and home with UAB in basketball in the future, but then I was like, I don't know if that would be really beneficial for UAB.
What was the question? Go ahead, John.
No, you good.
I'll say, what was the question that someone asked that he kind of looked like it was about, I guess, the end of the season? Like it was almost like on camera you could see like. Yeah,
question.
Like you could tell he was not happy. Like during the question, you could see his facial expression. He's like, "I think I'm gonna repeat what I think you meant by that," and that was just awkward. So who asked? No,
I'll paraphrase. It was somebody with Southern Miss, or I think it was a student outlet covering him. But he had asked like, so what happened these last 3 out of 5 games where you straight up lost the games? And I'm like, how can you ask a coach that? Like,
he did not like it, man. You could tell he did not.
Yeah,
like
because how you supposed to answer? Like, we tried to lose those. Like, what are you supposed to say? It's like,
exactly.
It's part of the game. What else are you talking about?
So I don't know. He might be new, so maybe he'll learn. The reporter will. But guy, I think we can put this to bed. Good win in Bartow. UAB 88-60 over Southern Miss. So now UAB will advance to the second round of the NIT, the National Invitation Tournament, where they will take on the Morehead State Eagles. This game will be Sunday afternoon at 2:00 in Bartow Arena. If you cannot make it out to Bartow Arena, the game will be televised again or streamed again on ESPN Plus. If you can't, but we certainly hope you can make it out to Bartow Arena. I plan on being there. I mean, this is you look at the stats and everything, and Morehead, like, they really don't pop off to you, but they just took down Clemson at Clemson, which was a number 1 seed, which, a lot of people can argue, especially after the Nevada performance against Arizona State last night, that they probably should have been in the NCAA tournament. But Morehead found a way to win that ball game. And, this is a team that UAB played, was it last year or 2 years ago?
I feel like it was maybe 2 years ago.
Might have been 2 years ago, yeah. But out of the Ohio Valley Conference, 22-11 overall. Guys, Darion, first, what does anything pop off to you, like when you see some of the film from that Clemson game? Because that's the only game I really got to watch, and I just watched the highlights of it. Nothing popped off to me. Darion, did anything surprise you?
Well, I think from a talent standpoint, you could tell that Clemson had more overall talent. Like, Clemson got some pretty high-flying, physical guys, but Clemson didn't do themselves any favors by shooting 21% from 3, going 6 for 28, and shooting 57% from the free throw, especially late in the game when they couldn't hit their shots. They were really ice cold, but they were ice cold from the free throw line. And I think that gave they gave Morehead enough opportunity. Well, I mean, Morehead only shot 35% from the field. 21 of 60. That's not good, but they shot 11 of 33 from the 3-point line, and 33% is kind of like average below, but it's way better than 21. And the big thing is they shot 93, basically 94% from the free throw line, hitting 15 out of 16. So I think Clemson just gave Morehead State too many opportunities, especially late, and they were able to capitalize. Their point guard number 0. Let me get their name. So this is I was able to watch that full Clemson game and was able to slow down to see what was effective. He is like their Jelly Walker. I believe he was the player of the year in that conference. Is that the OVC?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, so he was the player. He Mark Freeman. They got him listed as 5'11", 165. The dude is at least 5'9", maybe 5. Yep. He is not 5'11", I can tell you that. But he is their creator. I went down and looked at his stats for a lot of the games they played earlier this year. He is not the most efficient guy. He's not Tyler Perry from the field, but he is there. He's the guy that they lean on for their shot creativity, and I think they kind of live with what they get from him, and because he can do some stuff off the bounce. Think of Jelly Walker, but just not with the efficiency that Jelly has. That's kind of the best way to put it. I actually think Jelly is bigger, and I actually love that. I love this matchup because I like Jelly is bigger. Most of the time, we never get to say that. So defensively, that's not going to be. I feel like Jelly is a good defensive player for his size. So if he has somebody he can match up with, positional wise, he can hound them. He can use his quickness. Jelly. I say it all the time, like we don't celebrate his athleticism enough because of his stature. He's very quick and fast, so I think he's gonna give Freeman problems. Going down.
And I think it's safe to say too, like Freeman's not gonna back him down.
No,
like there's no way that's happening.
Not his game. And like I said, I think Jelly is bigger and stronger. We rarely get to say that. But Jelly, here we are. Look at this giant in Jelly Walker, right? The other guard they have is Drew Thelwell. He's the shooting guard. He's one of the other guys they have that can get hot from 3. He was one of their only efficient shot makers. And you will see him handling the ball some. He's like Eric Gaines, but he's a 3-point shooter. He's not the same type of player, but Eric is the guy we go to when we want Jelly off the ball. That's number 3. You'll see him handling the ball. Number 5 is the backup point guard. He's a player, you know what I'm saying? He's not a big guy. He wasn't that special, but I'm just only spending time on the starters. Number 15. So between number 15 and number 24, this is why they're a small team. Both of those guys are 6'5". Maybe 210, So if those are your 3 and 4, so we already named out the 2 guards, one already being the small guard. So now really you got other guys that's like Taven Love in size, and one of them is playing the 4 position. You know who plays the 4 position for us? KJ Buffin. This is why I'm like, hey man, KJ, if he wants to, he can have another game like he did. I see that they kind of deployed the zone. They play zone against Clemson. So I can see them trying to do that against us because there is no way, even their center, they got a good, I believe he's a freshman.
Gross, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He's a grad. He's an NAIA guy. I think he's in his last year.
Oh, never mind. I don't know where I got freshman from then.
They have a backup too. I'm not sure what year that guy is, but yeah, I remember them. I remember the announcer early in the Clemson game was talking about Gross, their center, and he said he's not much of an athlete. I don't think he could jump over a phone booth.
He said that.
Man. And he went on to explain what a phone booth was for the audience because he realized that like most of the listeners like don't know what a phone booth. And that made me feel old.
All right, think of Fiedler from Rice. That was my comp for him. Think of Fiedler, but he's not the passer that Fiedler is. But what he has is he has extreme touch. They love to get in. He has good hands. He can catch the ball within close quarters. I realized whenever they got any kind of penetration, they were looking for him. And as soon as he got it, he was able to put the ball up and he has this little, think of the anti-Trey Jemison. Like Trey Jemison is a big, Greek god looking guy, strong, dunk on you, use his strength. This is not gross at all. Like, this is not him. He is not the physical freak. Like you said, he can barely jump. A lot of shots he's putting up, he's barely jumping. Like, he's literally just throwing the ball up there. Yep. But he has great, great touch and great, great hands. So he's able to, every stat sheet I got, and I was looking down each game, he had at least like 11 points, 15 points, 13 points, 5 for 8, 4 for 7, 9 rebounds. He is consistent, and you know what you're going to give him. So more than likely, no matter how good our bigs play, he's going to have like 11 points, annoying little rebounds here and there. Like, how is this dude doing it? But he has a great IQ and great hands and great touch, and he's 6'10". He's a good player. I like him. So in number 15, he's a guy that has a clip on him too. He's a shooter. He can get hot. That's the other guy. I believe he's going to play the 3. And number 24, Wolf, is the guy that I feel like actively is playing the 4. He's not a guy he doesn't seem like a guy that's going to put up big points, but he's a good. He's just a solid player. He might hit a 3 here and there. He'll dribble, penetrate. With that being said, I think Southern Miss was a better team, honestly. I feel like if we make shots, we win. I know this is like, of course, if you make shots, you win the game. But
yeah,
and if we don't turn the ball over like we did, especially if we don't give them the opportunities, just put them away. If you look down, they have gotten blown out by teams. I saw one game that one team they lost to North Alabama. I saw that. They took an L to North Alabama, 81-75, I believe, and they had a guard that went off on them from North Alabama. I felt like it was a team that we played, or who was the team? I had to look back. It was early in the year, but I think
they played West Virginia too. Yeah,
West Virginia was the team. They got curb stomped.
They got about like 30. Yeah, they
they got and we were right there with West Virginia to the end. So I think we have better talent. I do think they can attack certain weak spots. I do think you can't take them. They just beat Clemson, They can shoot the ball. They can get hot. But I think they've shown over their year that they can be inefficient. And if we can just rebound, because they're going to miss, especially if we close out to 15-3. Close out on those guys. I don't think 24 Wolf is much of a shooter. He's more of a ball mover. He's a guy for his size. He can be physical. KJ Buffin ought to feast on him. To be real, KJ Buffin is a better rebounder. If he did that to Southern Miss, he can do that to Wolf of Morehead. So I expect points in the paint to be up high. I expect him to try to focus on that. Maybe go to zone. If you go to zone, I expect Jelly to eat. So I expect them to pick their poison. And I don't think they have good options on the poison. So that was my takeaway on them.
Yeah, how many of us thought that Morehead State was going to pull off this victory? Kudos to them. Before the game, I was looking at just the probability. So, when you go to the ESPN, you see percentage chance of winning the game. They had Morehead State at like 4-point-something% chance of winning the game. And I was like, this ain't going to happen. 15.5-point spread. But hey, that's why they play the game, right? I would envision that UAB is going to likely be 11, 12 point.
It'll be double digit. Yeah, it'll be double digit.
So, it's going to be another game where KenPom has this 93% chance of winning right now. But hopefully what the coaching staff is telling them is look at what they did against Clemson. So one interesting thing about Morehead State is they're going to run a tempo that's very similar to the Charlottes and the North Texases of the world. And so I think they're going to try to offset, a little bit of their lack of size, and they're going to try to slow the game down. They're not going to want us to get up and run and all that stuff. They're contributors. If you look at their team, they don't play a lot. So I think they got like a 7 man rotation, so they can't afford. Yeah. And one, I guess, solid thing about that though for them is that they're very senior led. So we talked about the grad guy, that's the center. Darion talked about Freeman, that's a senior. I believe 5 out of their 7 contributors are seniors. So whether that's with them or they transferred in. So what do you want in March? You want senior led guards that can, to Darion's point, talking about Freeman, or that can create shots. So, that's something that we're definitely going to have to work or watch out for. Darion's already hit on their size. I mean, that's going to be a critical thing. They start 4 guys that are 6'5" or smaller. And what's crazy is the rebounding battle was 40-40 with Clemson. Clemson has some dogs down there. I think it's PJ Hall.
Yes.
So going back to this, we're talking in the last podcast about potentially Trey Jemison getting that homecoming. So Trey Jemison had left the year before, going into the COVID year. And that was, if memory serves me right, when they were able to get PJ Hall. And if he wasn't a 5-star, he was a 4-star. So, but during the game, they didn't take advantage of that. So that's something I noticed. Looking at their shot attempts, Clemson kind of got baited in. If you ask me, like early in the game, they were taking a lot of threes. Morehead State, they're going to take a lot of threes as well. I think it's going to be critical that we don't bait ourselves into taking a high volume 3-point shooting contest with Morehead State, because they've got some guys that can hit shots. And instead, what we should do is what we've been talking about, in our last podcast, what we kind of wished was the scheme going into FAU is give it to Buffin and give it to Trey. So their 2 bigs, Clemson against Morehead State, they were a combined 9 of 13 from 2-point range. I think that's roughly 70%. But then they looked like they shot, I think it was 1 for 8 from 3. So they were stretching these bigs out, however tall they are, 6'10", where, instead of shooting the 70%, percentile down low or within 2-point range, they were dragging them out. Hey, let me shoot some threes too. Let's not fall into that trap. Like, let's give the ball to KJ, let him work. Give the ball to Trey, let him work. And really just dominate the glass, be as physical as we possibly can, bring Javian in. They just do not have the size to match us. And so, ultimately, we're going to be double-digit, point favorites. We should win the game. But to make sure we do so, we need to stick to the game plan. That's to get the ball down low and do not get in a 3-point shooting contest, is my thoughts.
Well, when you say don't get into 3-point shooting contest, I would say don't get into jacking those shots. That's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take away our inside game, if you giving Jelly that gap, Jelly's he's back in that mode that if you give him some space, and that was my problem when he wasn't patient enough against FAU. I felt like the first basket of the game was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was off a pick and roll. They attacked Victor Golden, had him bagging up enough space. It's all Jelly needs. It's almost automatic every time. After that, I don't know why we went away from that, and when we kind of just, was just jacking up contested threes. If they're going to give us open, especially Jelly,
mm-hmm.
if you're going to give Jelly open threes, hey, man, high volume all the time, because we're going to
green light
carry you, if you do that. So I think it's pick and choose the threes that you're going to take. Don't get baited. Like, there's no way PJ Hall, I don't care if he can shoot or not. You talk about Hall, dog. I saw them. He's an NBA player. They threw him the ball. I saw him drop step, turn, and dunk the ball with one hand and hang on the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Explosive. Like, oh my God. Like this. Why won't they just give him the ball every time?
Yes.
But like Jimmy said, they baited him and made him. So I like KJ taking 2 to 3 threes a game, but they may be content with just let him shoot that to his heart desire. And for them make a miss, that's a win. Because that keep them away from banging down low. Don't fall for that. Mix it up inside, and we'll be good.
And I hope that we, at halftime, we're sitting with a 9, 10, 11, 12-point lead, because, again, the longer this game goes in, like the longer we get into the game, the closer it is. They're going to slow down the tempo. They will bleed the clock. But how cool was it? I was watching the game, and now my spouse and I were in here watching the game. I was like, I never cheered so loud for an Ohio Valley conference in my life. I'm just screaming like, let's go. And they hit clutch free throws. Darion talked about it earlier. It was like 90+%. And Clemson just fumbled it away. They had so many opportunities to do what they needed to do. Morehead was trying to get, they were letting them stay close enough to where Clemson could, climb that hill. But Zero, Freeman, he went to the line. He hit 4 or 5 like clutch free throws there right at the end. Like, so
and Clemson were bricking them babies back to back. I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. So
it's crazy.
At the end of the day, it's a make 'em miss league,
Mm-hmm. And it's, I think the Clemson game is going to be a great film session for the coaching staff because, Jimmy was mentioning earlier, the rebound was 40-40. Both teams had 40 rebounds. But it goes back to Darion's point earlier that Morehead was playing a lot of zone that game. That's kind of how, they spread out Clemson and they just kind of got lucky with some rebounds. So if UAB can attack the zone, then we're going to be good. And when you got KJ Buffin playing the way he did the other night, I think UAB is going to be fine.
And instead of us focusing on transition baskets, I think we really need to focus on crashing those offensive boards, seeing Lovin in there, seeing Gaines in there. Gaines, try to fly in there and dunk on somebody's head. Gross can't jump. You get in there and catch one off the rim. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a good positional rebounder. I'm going to give that to him. Like, I love a guy that maximizes his tools, right? So, like, players like Gross, like, I really respect. You know what I'm saying? It's like he can only do so much, but he's gonna do that so much every time. Right. So I respect that. But if we play like how we play with our athleticism and our size, like guys like Taven Lovin has a physical. I feel like he has a physical mismatch. Like this is a game that he can get downhill, and we can let our athleticism shine. And we can let our size shine, and in that way, we can let Jelly shine because it's like you're gonna have to give up something. So either shooting or whatever. And I know y'all were saying fumbling away. I'm sorry. I know y'all saw that Virginia game.
Furman, man.
That pass, I was like, what the? I watched it like 20 times. Like, I can't believe he just
threw that ball up there.
Why? Like, can y'all please help me? This is totally off topic, but this is bothering me.
Were they out of timeouts? I saw the last play.
They had a timeout.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He just threw the ball. He's a senior. He did y'all see that? Like in 2019, he had probably the most important pass to send him to the national championship. He had like
I didn't see that.
And then this year, it's just crazy, because I think that was his freshman year, and they were able to go into overtime to get to the national championship when Virginia went in 2019. In this game, this dude just YOLO'd the ball. Like, I was like, what the hell was that? Oh,
it was a duck, and it got picked off. That's what it looked like.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy. Hey, I'm sorry. That was off topic.
Well, speaking of random stuff, we can't not talk about the butt slap with the ref and the coach of Morehead State, right? Did y'all see that video?
I did not see that.
Oh, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, that was awesome.
Y'all gotta look this up. So referee Teddy Valentine and the Morehead State coach Preston Spradlin exchanged butt slaps in the bizarre sequence. So the ref gave it to the Morehead State coach, and he turned around and he looked like he was like, damn, that hurt. You got to check. It was very awkward, Darion.
Yeah,
so
he liked it a lot or something. I don't know.
Hopefully their coach is going to be all right. He
Well, real quick, kind of closing this out, though, just some quick stats. Morehead's ranked 234th in KenPom. They're 228 in the net. Last episode, we talked about the luck factor that KenPom uses, the luck rating, and how Southern Miss was pretty lucky, like they're in the 20s or 30s, something like that. Morehead State is number one. So they've had they've been really lucky. And as Jimmy mentioned earlier, the tempo, KenPom has it at 343rd tempo, and just for comparison, North Texas is 363. So not too far off. So, hey, Natalie.
Natalie making an appearance on the pod.
Yeah.
Yo.
She was cheering for Morehead State last night.
Okay. Yeah.
That's right.
I ain't gonna lie, when you name out when you kind of like spell out their stats, I try to look at the team first and then go to the stats. But when like the luck rate into the Ken Palm. I'm like, you're gonna kind of be like, oh, that kind of trash. But looking at them, they're a quality team. They beat Clemson in a game that mattered. I think that's the big thing. So, and they can, if you give them an opportunity, they'll run with it.
Mm-hmm. And they were down 15 in that game at Clemson and came back.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. So
then they go down early too. It was like 10 or 12 or something like that. And it
Clemson came out firing, man. I had it on my phone while I was running. I turned it off after it got up like 10, 11 points. I was like, I know what this is going to be. And so I was absolutely shocked. What was it, like 2 points at the half? Mm-hmm. And the whole time I was like, there's just no way. Like, there's no way this Power 5 team is going to lose Morehead State, who's happy to be there. Again, I mean, take it for what it's worth, but I don't think Clemson had the motivation. They had maybe 2,600 fans there at the game, at a Power 5 school. So I don't think they were with it, and that's why we can't. That had to be our wake up call. So it ain't gonna happen to us.
They kept firing away. And then they made those. Now that you say how much they jumped up early, they only made 6 threes in the game. 2 or 3 of those threes were probably in the first 3 minutes.
Yes.
So for the rest of the game, they probably only made 3 threes. The thing is, they kept shooting them. They kept missing. So then you got guys like PJ Hall down there that literally can just turn around and dunk on their head like he did. And like you said, so this should be a wake up call. Great film to watch. And honestly, if we're on our game, we should win by double digits. If not, they're gonna catch us. They're gonna catch us slipping, and we can lose this game if we take it too lightly.
Well, not to look ahead, but if we were to win, John, what's that potential matchup looking like afterwards in the bracket?
Yes, so looking at the bracket, if UAB beats Morehead State on Sunday, they'll face the winner between Vanderbilt and Michigan. They'll play Saturday at 11. So Blazer fans, if you want to peep ahead, get a quick look at both of those teams. Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time, Vanderbilt and Michigan. So
on ESPN too.
Bring on Vandy if we win it, because didn't Southern Miss beat Vandy at Vandy?
They did. They did.
Hey, and Vandy's Nashville's not too far away, man. So
BVP road trip.
Yes, let's do it.
Man, will Natalie go with you if you were doing that?
Hey, with the kiddo, I'll be lucky if Natalie lets me go. But if I go, it'll probably be with my dad. We'll probably just hop in the truck and drive up.
BVP, look at us. We were all just guys that get permission from wives, man. It's a cold world.
It is. Hey, we gotta take care of business first Sunday. So
everybody
take care
of
Morehead State. Yeah, everybody. Hey, please. Students, you should be coming back. Spring break's over with. Sunday afternoon, what else are you doing Sunday afternoon? I know you're not studying. It's spring break. So come to Bartow. Go to uabsports.com or call the ticket office. Let's pack out Bartow because this will be the last home game of the year. No matter who wins between Vandy and Michigan, it's going to be on the road. So this will be your last opportunity to see Jelly, Trey, Taven, KJ, all the seniors. So definitely make it out to Bartow if you can.
Hey, the dream is still alive. North Texas got a dub. Maybe they get another dub. Keep winning, North Texas. Come on, let's meet each other in that championship. We can have that rubber match
in Vegas. That's right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's put all this to rest. We got to keep on. That should be why we should want to win this tournament, just to meet. Our hate for each other should power us to meeting each other in the championship.
They got a much tougher second round game than us. Sam Houston State. I think they've won 25 plus games too, and that's future Conference USA team, Sam Houston State. So let's make sure that in that game that the American takes care of business, future American team, North Texas. And let's just keep marching towards championship. Tyler Perry, Jelly Walker, the Twitter battles. I can already hear Darion clapping back.
I'm
right
on the
now.
front line.
Shots fired again. I'm ready for it. Hey, we'll have to if we get to a championship game, we're gonna have to hop on the Mean Green podcast or North Tech. We have to do a cross podcast, and
man,
let's
that's
get
gonna
that
be
going.
That's gonna be the most toxic, hostile podcast you're gonna be able to find.
That's what the people want. That's what the people want, though.
It's like Avengers Endgame stuff. So we'll see, man.
What's the Avengers?
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I couldn't even. Don't do that. I couldn't even respond, man. I just looked at him.
Darion had me excited about talking about Succession. New season coming out soon, right?
So I just got on it. I'm on season 2.
Mm-hmm.
John doesn't know what we're talking about.
Hey, me and my wife Elizabeth, we're watching You, so we're about to finish up the last season of You.
We're in that too. Yep.
Yeah, so I watched the first 2 seasons of You. I kind of just, I have to get back into it. But You is a good show. Maybe we just need to come up with another podcast where we have random topics that we talk about, because it flows really easily.
And bring the wives on. Let's bring the wives on.
Oh yeah, we can bring the wives on. What? I mean, I guess you can talk about pregnancy and what would the wives talk about?
I mean,
shows.
Kids, shows, getting their hair did. I don't know.
Are we sounding sexist right now?
We're talking about basketball, Darion. Natalie's very into the games.
My wife is not going to talk about basketball. Like, she doesn't know.
Y'all can't see the chat right now.
No.
We're not going to repeat, John.
No.
We're not going to repeat that.
Well, on that note, guys, we hope to see you at Bartow Arena Sunday at 2:00 as UAB takes on Morehead State in the NIT second round. But Darion, want to go ahead and send us out, buddy?
Blazer Nation, let's ride.